I'm Mr. Giant, and this is me upgrading Almagum's homing dependent iPhones and media. Because of Marvel and DC doing crossovers again lately, me taking advantage of it to see what crossovers they could do. Me just doing it for these holidays because it being close to these holidays, and I'll leave a link to the version of them at the rest of the year in the description down below. So stay tuned for that. Just making sure them getting as much out of it as they can with this crossover. After them seeing this crossover doing good and them doing a big event out of it, it really would save the comic book companies because comic books are doing good again, and this will help them do better than manga again. The Serpent Society is similar to Cobra. Cobra is DC's version of the Serpent Society, and the Serpent Society is a different part of Hydra, while Cobra is also similar to Hydra because of it being a cult and a secret evil organization. And the Serpent Society would make more sense as members of the Cobra cult, because as they already have something to do with snakes. So the cult of the Cobra could be working together with Hydra, and the Serpent Solution, and would be working together with Cobra, with you also having Copperhead as one of their members there, for you doing in the snake theme. And because of them being in the main evil organizations in their universes. And it makes more sense for Serpent Solution to be a part of Cobra than with Hydra, because Serpent Solution is something Cobra would do to have Spiven operatives as in their cult. And the Serpent Society may be iconic Captain America villain because of them being made out of snake villains, but they're really only iconic for doing what Viper says as one of Captain America's main villains and one of the main members of Hydra, and for being a bunch of snake villains working together specifically. None of the snake villains on their own are really iconic. In fact, they're all C-listers as if you look at their individual stories. While DC has more iconic snake villains, and they're not even being a part of a supervillain team like the Serpent Society. And they're not even a part of an evil organization like Hydra and a good superhero roles guy like Captain America. So it would be perfect for someone like Copperhead being a part of the Serpent Society, the most iconic supervillain snake team, because of Copperhead being the most iconic snake supervillain. So it would be good, the Serpent Society, having one iconic member that actually has a snake theme, and not just having something that's close to a snake theme like with Sidewinder, or having more of a Hydra theme like with Viper. You just having someone with a snake theme working together with them, it's still showing that they're loyal to Hydra because of them working together with Hydra, who's working together with Cobra. And you being able to get the most out of it with them working together with an organization like Cobra. You can also see how different they are in being evil organizations from each other because of the cult of the Cobra being a cult and Hydra being an evil government. With Hydra having lots of iconic supervillain and members and having more than one leader, just having one guy who's the main leader of all of them and one most iconic leader. Or the cult of the Cobra just has a bunch of members in general, it just being members of the cult, and it just being nameless henchmen, and them only having one leader who keeps getting replaced by someone who's an exact copy of him, whether it's from the cult or someone on your man needs it to come from outside of the cult. Hydra is a Captain America villain and has ties to World War II, and is run by Captain America's arch nemesis, the Red Skull, and a bunch of Captain America's other villains like Viper and Autumn Zora and Hydra too. And Captain America originally met a bunch of his original villains from World War II in Hydra, and it is because of Hydra why a bunch of his villains are still around in World War II, and him meeting some of his more modern villains in the modern age. It's after World War II. Hydra is also linked to S.H.I.E.L.D. and is S.H.I.E.L.D.'s arch nemesis, the superhero government of the Marvel Universe that helps the superheroes in the Marvel Universe. And it's people like Nick Fury, which is not as bad as the other superhero governments in the superhero comic books. While Cobra is the arch nemesis of the superhero team The Outsiders, Batman's other superhero team away from the Justice League, when he needs to deal with international issues, and it being known for different kinds of heroes than the Justice League members. Cobra is much more well known for trying to summon a Lovecraftian snake god to bring about the Age of Chaos rather than being safe from it. Cobra is also similar to G.I. Joe's Cobra, with them doing cloning technology and DNA splicing, and for them doing things like their chemical cobra venom, which makes people even stronger than Bane's venom drug. And I'm also using it to upgrade supervillains. So since Hydra has been trying to copy Captain America's Super Soldier Serum for years, they can just use this to get advantage over his Super Soldier Serum and make it their version of the Super Soldier Serum. And one of the original leaders of Cobra, his twin brother Jason Bard, he's known for having a psychic link with him, and this being where Jason Bard started off, and him being a Batman character, and who's a civilian character, but in a gray area with Batman. So Hydra could be working together with Cobra to help them summon the Kali Yuga so Hydra can take over the world. Cobra would see them needing to do this for their master, the Kali Yuga, the Lovecraftian snake god them trying to summon. It's starting out as an equal partnership because they don't want to betray each other. But then the Red Skull betraying the leader of Cobra and him becoming the new leader of Cobra, but then them managing to defeat Red Skull and them separating the evil organizations. Jason Bard would work together with the Outsiders, Batman, Shield, and Captain America to stop the cult of the Cobra. While Copperhead would be the main member of the Serpent Society in this, he would just be there to sell the snake-themed villain thing from a supervillain point. And for him being a snake-themed supervillain in general for how him being a member of the Serpent Solution. With him just lacking him not being the only snake-themed villain, and him having other snake-themed villains to go with him. And him actually going along great with the other snake-themed villains because of them buying over the snake theme. And him just as being a good member of the team is why someone like Viper and the other Serpent Solution members would like him. They would also use his connection to the Suicide Squad to try to get the Suicide Squad under the control and to take out Amanda Waller. Joe would just use Hydra technology to turn off his brain bomb so when he gets into Bellwave he'll let the rest of Cobra in. The Serpent Society would take control of the Suicide Squad and turn them against Amanda Waller, then they would use the Suicide Squad in their plans. And Copperhead would also know from his time with being with them how Hydra can convince them into doing things for them other than just the brain bombs in their heads. With Hydra threatening their super villain loved ones, and with Hydra also saying that it is good them working for them because they're managing to kill Amanda Waller because of Hydra, which Copperhead would also be glad to do because of him already hating Amanda Waller so much too from his time with the Suicide Squad, hating him badly there. With you even making it that Copperhead being one of the leaders of the Serpent Society, and him working directly under Viper, or the Serpent Solution, while Viper is one of the leaders of Hydra that is in control of the Serpent Solution's part of Hydra. With you doing this with both Copperheads, and both Copperheads doing this, with the other Copperhead being his girlfriend, and with her really loving being with other snake-themed villains and poisoning and killing people with acid with them. Her also being glad to work together with someone like Madam Hydra because of her being similar to her. You also have all the other snake-themed supervillains in DC for actually being the Serpent Society, and you're taking full advantage of them having every snake-themed villain in DC too, like Snakebite, King Cobra, King Coil, and the Cobra King. You should also take advantage of it and have every giant monster in Marvel fight against every giant monster in DC. It being even better than the Monsterverse because of it having superheroes in it, and because not just you having monsters cross over with each other, but you actually having superheroes who can actually stop them and be a threat to them. So you're taking full advantage of the company crossover. It would be good because if Marvel's giant monsters going to war with DC's giant monsters, but then they're working together to go against the Marvel and DC superheroes, so they would need to work together to defeat them. And both Marvel and DC did cross over with the Monsterverse as in the modern day. So this makes sense by comparison and them doing it with their own giant monsters in their own crossover. You can also use Think Tank Boom versus Titano for their version of Godzilla versus King Kong. Or you can even make it Titano versus their version of Godzilla and Think Tank Boom versus Camo. Marvel has more than one an island filled with giant monsters, and them also being underground because they're part of the Mole Man and its army. And some of DC's giant monster villains are some of their biggest villains, and you can also have some of the shy-changing villains and heroes who's getting in there and fighting against the other giant monsters too, like Giganta and Adam's Master and Giant Man. And the Wasp. You can also have Ant-Man and the Wasp, House and Bumblebee and the Atom working together and to stop these monsters from an atomic level. And Ant-Man and the Wasp finding out the relationship is not that great, but it is worth continuing because of them seeing how good Bumblebee's relationship with her husband and Mal is and that they are able to get as good as theirs. Because Bumblebee and Mal had some problems too, but it's because of them making through it as how them doing so good in the modern day. Smash would be there to stop the threat, and Giganta would originally be there to stop the giant monsters because the supervillains saw that it was also a threat to them, but then the supervillains would just try to use it to get rid of the heroes. So Giganta fighting against other superheroes too. It would also fight against some other guys who could become giant, like Sandman and Clayface, who would combine with the other elemental Spider-Man villains to become a giant monster to fight and defeat against the other giant monsters, like Hydro Man, Molten Man, and Electro. You would also go up against members of the Flash's Rose Guard like Heatwave, Captain Cold, the Trickster, and Weather Wizard. You'd also have some monster villains in there like Sauron, and the X-Men villain who's half man, half pterodactyl, and controls dinosaurs, who is a monster who would be a part of the monster fighting against the humans. And you also having some other parts of the multiverse that has monsters in there, like having some of their monster dimensions and in there for the whole multiverse as crossing over in both parts of the multiverse of both companies of both superheroes. If you even having both Halloween spirits fighting against each other, and both of them fighting against a spreading virus from both universes, for them both fighting against a zombie and vampire army and an army of monster superheroes. With you also fighting both companies' versions of the most iconic monsters, it's like Dracula and Frankenstein. It also having the most iconic magic and horror teams of both companies, the Howling Commandos, and the Creature Commandos, the Midnight Suns, and the Justice League Dark for both DC and Marvel. With the Mole Man adding the giant monsters from DC to his army, and him using them to attack at both parts of the multiverse, when the DC heroes tried to put the DC giant monsters on one of Marvel's giant monster islands. Like you having Lovecraftian horrors from both parts of both companies is with them doing their villains that are Lovecraftian monsters and also the actual Lovecraftian monsters like Cthulhu, and it just being the different companies' versions of those of Lovecraftian horrors. You would use every giant monster from both companies, but some would have a bigger role than the other ones. The ones that are actually in superheroes' roles galleries and superheroes have something to do with, and their own universe says as them being the most powerful of the giant monsters, and also these giant monsters specifically being the leader of other giant monsters in the universe, like we think from in Marvel. And Titanium and DC would be the main giant monsters. It being like a Godzilla vs King Kong in the Monsterverse, but with DC and Marvel. Oh, so it being an upgrade version of that, because if you're having superheroes in there too, and you being able to recapture the awesomeness of both it originally happened and it happening in the modern age in the Monsterverse. The main giant monsters you using would be a Googum, some of Goom. With him not doing what his barber says because he doesn't need him anymore, and him proving himself to his barber, so him knowing that he doesn't need his approval, and him knowing that Googum is Goom. Goom's mommy helping Goom to see that he has treated his son badly by never being proud of him and being way too hard on him, and so her helping them fix their relationship. And same thing with Googum with his brothers and sisters. Devil Dinosaur would be with both Moon Girl and Moon Boy, with him saying him liking Moon Boy better because of him not being as hard to deal with as Moon Girl, and because of him already being with Moon Boy and it just being by accident him being with Moon Girl. But him knowing it's still being okay, him being with both of them, and Moon Boy being okay with Moon Girl taking care of Devil Dinosaur. And Wendigo, because of it being one of Marvel's most iconic monsters and one of the original monsters. With it being one of the monsters spreading and infecting the heroes, but with you using Super Wendigos that can control all of their powers and spreading it throughout everyone in both multiverses. And I think Boom would be there to prove him being the king of the giant monsters, and for him and trying to get the help for taking over the world. Titan would go against Think Boom to protect Lois Lane and Harley Quinn, and for him going against Think Boom and to prove him being the king of giant monsters, and because he doesn't want anyone to get hurt. Because of him trying to be good to Superman and Supergirl, because of them always being so good to him after him fighting against them as a supervillain, and because of him not wanting anyone to get hurt by Think Boom trying to take over the world, I would like them. We'd see into the other parts of the multiverse of how DC and Marvel multiverses are combined with each other, and also seeing it with the monster way, specifically with it being a bunch of their horror multiverses, as in the particularly dark ones being mixed together and being combined with each other. Like the Gotham by Gaslight universe would still be an alternate universe, but it's still taking place in a different time in the main universe by the ancestors of those people. They have the same immortal people who would be alive from both companies is at that time, and with it still having some of the same effects from both companies is at that time. Like Dormammu having something to do with the killings of Jack the Ripper, and it being the same Jack the Ripper from Batman Gotham by Gaslight. And the Gotham by Gaslight version of Batman being the same version of Batman from the Batman and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, and from Batman the Doom that came to Gotham, with the Lovecraftian horror in it. With them stopping the Lovecraftian horror during that time, but then the main DC heroes would need to stop it in the modern day. And the Lovecraftian horror from both universes would be the Lovecraftian horror from Doctor Strange's Rose Gallery, the Drawing Darkness, as a Spawn of Cthulhu in the Marvel Universe. In DC, it would be the King of Tears, DC's Lovecraftian horror that Johnny Sorrow keeps trying to summon a villain of the Justice Society, the world's first superhero team. And Cthulhu 2, DC's version of Cthulhu from the Justice League Unlimited Cell. Now, because of its ties with Thanagard, you could use it for the Lovecraftian horror here. And in the same way as in the Doom that came to Gotham with them trying to summon a Lovecraftian horror. Then you would have the same Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in Batman Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde as Jack the Ripper in this story. And with Batman managing to solve the mystery with the Sherlock Holmes of both Marvel and DC. So, Marvel and DC being similar to them using stuff from outside of their comic companies and to pay tribute to one of Batman's heroes. Doing all the stuff from London. For you doing something, and for Batman doing something good for one of his heroes, Sherlock Holmes, by solving the one mystery he was never able to solve of Jack the Ripper. With Sherlock Holmes even finding out Batman's secret identity but not telling anyone about it. And with both Sherlock Holmes personally admitting that Batman is the world's greatest detective and is glad that him and managing to still be around into the modern day. Proving that Batman is a better detective than Sherlock Holmes because he was able to solve the one mystery Sherlock Holmes was never able to solve of Jack the Ripper. You can also have this version of Jack the Ripper crossover with other real-life murderers like Mike the Spike, and the other monsters in the story like Dracula and Frankenstein from both Marvel and DC, and monsters similar to him in both Marvel and DC like the Phantom of the Opera. Marvel's Dracula would go against DC's Dracula specifically because Marvel already has two Draculas and they already go to war with each other, so both Draculas would go to war with DC's Dracula. They tried to prove that they're the true Dracula, but then DC's Dracula would just take out one of Marvel's Draculas, as then and the other Marvel Dracula would find out him just being an alternate version of Dracula, and it would be good and him working together with himself of all people to go against the other heroes. And both Frankensteins from DC and Marvel would meet up with each other and see the differences between each other and them both going against Dracula. With you using it as the Universal monsters, but you could also use it for them going against the actual Universal monsters. Whether it being the original Universal monsters, or just alternate universe versions of them, and so you having the original Universal monsters in there from the original companies. It would make the crossover more original and take advantage of there being so many crossovers lately. And for you doing a big crossover and it being with a bunch of things, it really acknowledging there being so many crossovers lately, and you taking advantage of them or ignoring these guys from crossing over with them from so many other places before. You could do them bringing them to life from a movie or them bringing them from another dimension. Are you doing both with them bringing them to life from a movie but it turning out to be another dimension that they have a psychic link to? To try to prove that they're the real versions of these guys. Depending on the concept that Marvel and DC characters that are originally not from Marvel and DC are fighting each other. Usually combining the Batgirl and Supergirl Dracula with the Superman Dracula with the Batman Dracula. With the Batman's version of Dracula. For you doing DC's Dracula for DC's own version of Dracula. For you being DC's Dracula good too, and for it being good and fighting against Marvel's Dracula. If Marvel gets to have Dracula as one of their main villains, then DC should have Dracula as one of their main villains too. I mean, Marvel's Dracula is one of Marvel's biggest villains and is one of Marvel's most iconic monsters. So DC should do that with their Dracula, since one of their most iconic Elseworld stories is Batman fighting against Dracula. So it being more evenly matched between them, and so it being better how it working and them fighting against each other. And to make DC's Dracula already as good as Marvel's Dracula, and it would also be good for it being a more even fight between Marvel and DC. The monsters should be spreading in the monster disease. It is like turning everyone into vampires and spreading the zombie infection. With Batman and other superheroes finding a cure for it and curing the other humans and heroes, but then after them finding out with some of them that you can't cure, them deciding them needing to kill them because of them already being dead, so them not already killing them. So it betrayed DC's Dracula as a stereotype for Dracula, with the usual things you expect from Dracula, from the original live-action movies, and specifically the Universal's original Dracula movie. With Marvel's Dracula, you're making it obvious that he's not the usual Dracula, with him being armored Dracula, and it being more obvious him being a king of vampires. With Marvel's Dracula, him having the same rivalry with Blade, the Midnight Suns, Doctor Strange, and Captain Britain and the Captain Britain Corps. With him doing some terrible things for his vampire nation, and him just doing it because of him caring about his vampire people, but him wanting to be in charge of it. With him wanting to make sure his people are okay because he hates humans. With DC's Dracula, it being because of him being power mad and him just wanting to drink blood in general. And with him wanting to be in charge of the world, and with him wanting to turn everyone into a vampire. So, with Marvel's Dracula, it being more obvious he's a leader of a vampire nation, and him being more of a leader of a country in general, or with DC's Dracula, it being more obvious him being a usual vampire, and him just as being a bad guy in general. DC's Dracula would have already fought Supergirl and Batgirl, and Batman and Superman. With him having the same rivalry with Batgirl and Supergirl, and the same rivalry with Superman, and Dracula would have the same first meeting with Batman from the Batman Dracula trilogy, the original one from the comic books, and Dracula would have the same rivalry with Batman in the Batman and vs. Dracula animated movie from the Batman show. And if Dracula sucks Captain America's blood, he would be able to get rid of his vampire weaknesses because of the super soldier serum in Captain America's blood. Them being able to make a vampire cure with Hulk's blood and Superman's blood, because as Hulk's blood is like sunlight because of the gamma radiation, and Superman's blood already has sunlight in it because of him getting his powers from Earth's yellow sun. Dracula would be able to drink Superman's blood, and he would be able to get rid of his weaknesses if he did that, and Superman would turn into a vampire without the weaknesses if he did that. But if they get into the sunlight, he would be able to burn it out of his system. And they would be able to kill Dracula without using his weaknesses to kill him because of them using a supercharged Superman. Dracula would be able to suck Hulk's blood and get his strength and turn Hulk into a vampire, but if Hulk gets angry enough, he would be able to burn the vampire infection out of his system and become not a vampire again, and then it would also burn Dracula because of Hulk's blood being similar to sunlight, because of the gamma radiation in his blood. We would still acknowledge both Dracula's rivalries with both Van Helsing and Quincy Harper, and they're getting vampire hunters, with them working together with the heroes to stop them in the modern day, and with both versions of them, and the universal movie versions of them, and with the heroes getting them to help them because of them being the best guys for it because of them doing it for so long, and them just doing it because of them hunting monsters in general. Then Quincy Harper and his vampire hunters and Van Helsing and would help the heroes to defeat Dracula, Frankenstein, and the other monsters, but the heroes would defeat the actual monsters. You would see monster versions of the Avengers and the Justice League, and the actual main versions of the Avengers and the Justice League defeating these guys and setting their worlds that were taken over by them free. It also serves a purpose in the story to show why they need to stop them and why they can't, and let this happen in their world. Both the Avengers and the Justice League would be able to stop the monsters without being turned into monsters, but then the monsters would turn them into monsters, and last effort to try to mind control them, but then they would defeat the monsters by using them being turned into monsters to fight them. The superheroes would try fighting against it at first, but then they would try to be the good guys in the end by trying to kill themselves, but then the other heroes wouldn't let them do it because of it being terrible them killing themselves, and because of them killing themselves is why them completely becoming monsters now, trying to take over the world, but then the other heroes, like the partners of the Justice League members, like the members of the Teen Titans, and the Avengers' other hero friends, like their mutant friends and the X-Men, they would be able to defeat them in the end by killing them, but then they're managing to bring them back to life and managing to cure them. You can do the same way Dracula being such a big threat to Batman from The Batman. We'd also do Batman and Dracula hating each other and them going against each other in the original Batman Dracula trilogy. They would acknowledge the big threat Dracula is and now him being a bad guy, but they would also do some jokes about how Dracula being a stereotypical Dracula from the Universal movies. And if they find cosmic gods like Darkseid and Omega Basic, then they can definitely handle Dracula. Superman wouldn't be able to fight against Dracula because of his powers, but Superman would have a hard time fighting against Dracula because of his mind control. Also having the DC vampires is like Nocturna and the Mad Monk there with Dr. Death. Then just having Dr. Death there as a stereotypical mad scientist is like how you see in the Universal movies. And with the Mad Monk and Natalia, you can just make it that Dracula turn them into vampires here, and him just working together with them because of them being vampires. And for the monster versions of these heroes, we'd see a half-man, half-spider Spider-Man, and a vampire Batman, a half-woman, half-bat Batgirl, a Frankenstein Superman and a zombie Hulk, a cyborg Iron Man that's actually connected to his armor, and a cyborg that's completely robotic, a even more half-man, half-fish with the fish parts showing a creature from the Black Lagoon, and Aquaman and Namor, Moon Knight and Wonder Woman, and a Ghost Captain America, and a Skeleton Flash and Ghost Green Lantern with a Skeleton Quicksilver, Green Arrow and Hawkeye. A Mummy is perfect for Green Arrow and Hawkeye because Moon Knight's weapons were created by a time-traveling Hawkeye, and it goes well with Green Arrow's arrows, and a Vampire Thor. Batgirl and Spider-Man becoming half of their theme is good because Spider-Man turns into a half-man, half-spider all the time, and Man-Bat is already in Batman's Rogues Gallery, so they can just do something with that with Batgirl. Moon Knight debuted fighting against Werewolf by Night, and Wonder Woman is free like a werewolf, so they're perfect to become a werewolf because Moon Knight's god Khonshu is the moon god. Thor and Batman are perfect to become vampires because Thor is similar to Marvel's Dracula with them both having a werewolf theme, and Batman already became a vampire when he fought against Dracula the original time. The skeleton goes well with the two speeches with Quicksilver and the Flash. Superman and Hulk are kind of guys in the Marvel Universe. Superman already has a relationship with Frankenstein, and Marvel is already well known for the Marvel Zombies, and they're both the strong guys of the team, so they're perfect with the zombie and Frankenstein theme. The creature from the Black Lagoon is perfect for Aquaman and Namor because they're both underwater superheroes. Cyborg and Iron Man became more connected to their technology is perfect because of them all being tech superheroes. With Green Lantern and Captain America, it's good them being ghosts because Green Lantern glows up like a ghost, and with Captain America, it being good because of him being a ghost of a war similar to the Haunted Tank. It would be good them interacting with other monster characters in their universes, like Bizarre and the Werewolf from Krypton. Secret and Han with the Teen Titans. With you showing the supernatural parts of the Teen Titans and their villains, you're also doing secret proving to the Avengers that they can trust the Teen Titans because of the Teen Titans helping Secret to deal with her own brother killing her. Secret also interacting with the other supernatural characters from both universes, as like Deadman from DC, and some of the more supernatural Avengers, is like Damon Hellstrom, and Satana. You could also use this for Teen Titans crossing over with the X-Men, like Secret crossing over with Magic, like in Colossal from the X-Men or something. And the other Teen Titans members could also cross over with other Marvel characters like DC's Jack-O-Lantern from the Teen Titans could cross over with Marvel's Jack-O-Lantern. And if so, who is the mascot of Halloween, and who is the true Jack-O-Lantern? Raven could interact with Damon Hellstrom and Satana, with them both being kids of the devils, but with them becoming good people and superheroes, like Raven being the daughter of Trigon, and Damon Hellstrom and Satana being the kids of Satan. With Blood being with the other mind control villains like Mad Hatter and the Purple Man and the Puppet Master, and with them being with all the other family villains, and with all the other cult-like leaders as villains, and also with all the elemental villains. So the Teen Titans Rogues Gallery and it crossing over with the other Marvel universe, and for you also showing all the parts of Brother Blood. You're showing how Brother Blood is different than the Purple Man, and because of him actually caring about his family, while the Purple Man just uses his kids. And that Brother Blood is a supervillain that actually cares about his kids, but the Purple Man is a terrible person because of him not even caring about his kids. With him also buying over Dr. Light, with them both having supervillain families, and with him and being with the elemental villains because of him being with Dr. Light, who would be a good friend of his here. And he would be with the other supervillain leaders of a cult, for him trying to summon all the other devils and Lovecraftian horrors. Like all of the devils from both DC and Marvel, like the Fear and Hell Lords, and also all the physical embodiments of death from both DC and Marvel, like Lady Death and Death of the Endless, from both Marvel and DC. And him being with the Puppet Master and the Pillar Man, and for them being able to mind control even more people, and him being similar to the Purple Man, with him being able to mind control people, but if you have a strong enough will, you being able to resist him. But Brother Blood's power gets stronger, if him getting more powerful, but it's still not working on someone if their will is strong enough. Him using that against the Pearl Man, but him also hating that with Puppet Master's mind control is being better because of it just mind controlling people. Then the Teen Titans and the X-Men would defeat them, showing how good the Teen Titans Rogues Gallery is, and how good the Teen Titans are because of them having a big part in the crossover. The members from the supernatural teams, names like the Just League Dark, you would have Deadman, who's a ghost of a trapeze artist that died. You would do him interacting with other supernatural Marvel characters, and you doing him being okay with being a ghost now, and you also doing him and being glad to be a part of the Just League Dark. Also having a jokey personality, him also interacting with Hawkeye, with them both coming from a circus, and him also interacting with the Ringmaster, a supervillain circus leader from Marvel. And his ancient temple would interact with Iron Fist's ancient temple, and Iron Fist as in Doctor Strange's ancient temple in the Himalayas. Kusna would also interact with Khonshu, and it would also show how them being different in how they do things because of Khonshu being a terrible power mad god, while Kusna being a good and kind and fair and loving god, that is why Deadman is so loyal to her. At first, only the supernatural characters would be able to see Deadman, but then them making it that people being able to see Deadman in general. And Deadman would also be with the usual members of Justice Dark like Zatanna and John Constantine, with him acting like a buffer between Zatanna and Satana, and him being the reason why John Constantine interacting with Damon Hellstrom. Him also interacting with the Swordsman Black Knight because of them being similar to Etrigan and Signing Knight, Vigilante, and because of him being a part of the Circus too. You're also having Zatanna in there, and with her interacting with Iron Magic Marvel superheroes. Also interacting with the Scarlet Witch, and with her also interacting with the other Marvel superhero who are women. With her standing up for Batman because of them being friends from the Iron Magic users, and her also showing the Iron Magic users that John Constantine is a good sorcerer for them to rely on. John Constantine would interact with Doctor Strange, Damon Hellstrom, and the Ghost Rider. Showing John Constantine doing some terrible things like Damon Hellstrom, but him not losing his humanity as much as Damon Hellstrom, and on occasions John Constantine does worse things than Damon Hellstrom. With Doctor Strange, we would do John Constantine not being as powerful as him, and him being a worse person than Doctor Strange. But with John Constantine being more of a fun-loving person than him, and him being better at relationships than Doctor Strange. John Constantine would go after Ghost Rider because of him killing some friends of his, it's because they were bad people, and Ghost Rider would go after John Constantine because if he was friends with these guys and he thinks he was a bad person too. But then John Constantine would be understanding of Ghost Rider killing supervillains, and Ghost Rider would find out John Constantine is a good person. John Constantine would try to date Satana, but then he would resist it, and then Satana would try to date John Constantine by forcing him into a kiss, but then her brother would convince her not to do it because John Constantine already having a girlfriend, Zatanna. You would also show John Constantine having a good relationship with Zatanna now, with them being a happy couple, and John friends being back to life with his sister, and him having a good relationship with them not being mad anymore. And him also drinking and having fun gambling with them, and him also having a good time with his sister being alive. With Saz, for example, his family, he's still remembering him and them still being alive, and him still being a guy with them, but with them and being okay with John. Then with Richie, him also being a good guy with John, and him still being a good friend of John, him still having some magical artifacts for John to use, but with him not having a magic cancer anymore. You're also doing John Constantine in the charge of the House of Mystery, with Kane being the guy who takes care of the house while John Constantine's not there, and him doing whatever John Constantine says there, but it's still having its connection to the dream and still ending up in the dreaming. Zatanna would be in charge of the House of Secrets, with Abel being in charge of the house whenever she's not there, and him doing what she says, with it still having its connection to Dream of the Endless, and with it still ending up in the dreaming. The third house would have Elvira there, and the house from the Nightmare event, and would have the Tales from the Crypt Keeper with Crypty, the Vault Keeper, and the Old Witch, with the cartoon show version of them, and Crypty being a live-action version of him combined with the original part of the cartoon version of him, combined with the later parts of the cartoon version of him. And them interacting with each other the same, and them dealing with each other the same. Etrigan the Demon would interact with the Black Knight because of both of them being knights from Camelot, and would also interact with Signing Knight and Vigilante, and the Two-Gun Kid and the Swordsman, because of all of them coming from different times. Him also acting with the Gargoyle, and him also showing how different he is from the Gargoyle because of the Gargoyle being a good person while Etrigan being a demon. Etrigan just being a demon knight in general. Then Etrigan would also interact with the Ghost Rider, with him trying to breathe hellfire on him, and because of the Ghost Rider coming after him because of him thinking him being from hell, Etrigan showing like him being in someone else's service and him killing supervillains and like Ghost Rider. His fire wouldn't work on Ghost Rider because of Ghost Rider already having hellfire, and Ghost Rider's hellfire wouldn't work on Etrigan, and because of him being already from hell. But the Ghost Rider would understand Etrigan and know him being a good person in the end, so them going to get revenge and are the ones who did this to them, and killing supervillains together, them seeking vengeance, and then burning people alive together. And with them even combining during it, with you showing how they're similar to each other, with them both being scientists that turn themselves into plant monsters, and with both of them protecting parts of life, and Man-Thing protecting the nexus of all reality that's hidden in a swamp, or Swamp Thing just staying in swamps in general, and him protecting the green, which is connected to all plant life, and there being other things to it like the red, which is connected to all animal life. And you also showing how Swamp Thing and Man-Thing are different from each other, with Swamp Thing acting more human while Man-Thing acting more like a monster, and with Swamp Thing having a love interest while Man-Thing's love interest betrayed them, and Man-Thing trying to replicate the super soldier serum that turned Steve Rogers into Captain America, but then after him injecting himself to get away from the gangsters trying to kill him, and then setting on fire and mixing with the parts of the swamp and turned him into Man-Thing, while Swamp Thing was just trying to work on a chemical to help out plans. Then when some gangsters tried to kill him, and by setting on fire, and him using it on himself while going into the swamp to get rid of the fire, it mixing with the swamp, and it turning him into Swamp Thing. And with Man-Thing secreting acid so whoever knows fear burns at the Man-Thing's touch, or Swamp Thing just has plant powers, and him being able to control any kind of plants, even alien plants, or him being able to teleport through plants. And with Swamp Thing actually having a family, and him actually having his friendship with John Constantine. Marvel's most iconic monsters, and with him also protecting humans in general, while Swamp Thing sometimes goes against humans because of how they treat plants, and while Swamp Thing is also one of the most iconic members of the Justice League Dark. Man-Thing is a horror character is because of him being a monster character in general, while Swamp Thing is a horror character is him being a supernatural character in general. Man-Thing is a monster character in general, while Swamp Thing is a magic superhero in general. You also having the Spectre in there, interacting with Doctor Strange and the Living Tribunal, and Dr. Fate there with the Phantom Stranger. Going with the Living Tribunal, but the other guys will go against how he does things. You also having supervillains in there like Clayface, the Scarecrow, and the Joker, and the other monster villains of the DC universe. They're planning to be spreading a virus throughout the city and getting rid of all the power in the city, and also trying to steal all the money in the city, and creating enough Joker, Venom, and Fear Toxin for the whole city, and also unleashing the monster supervillains on the city. And it not just being with the city, it being with the whole world. With them doing it Halloween specifically, and then trying to blow up the city. Because the Joker wanting to give the city its scariest of Halloween of all time. And what if in 100 years someone tries to outdo him, so he tries to make it Gotham City's last Halloween ever. But then Harley Quinn refusing to blow up the city with him, near stopping the bomb from blowing up. One of the monsters that would be working together with him would be the Gentleman Ghost. He could also have a good relationship with Secret, because of them both being ghosts and unable to pass on to the spirit world. So Gentleman Ghost helping it to deal with it, and him trying to make it feel better about it, and him also fighting against Deadman specifically in the story, because of them both being ghosts. And with Deadman specifically, and with him also having a good relationship with Deadman because of Deadman, and having Secret to pass on to the spirit world. Gentleman Ghost to go up against the more supernatural Marvel heroes and villains. As a thief who just wants yours because of them looking good like the Penguin. It being because of him and his mommy needing the money when they were alive, but because of him not having it when they were alive. And because of it is why him becoming a thief in the first place, and him ending up dying in the end. You should make it him having his usual look, like when nothing happens to him and him not being under the full moonlight, but when he's under the full moonlight, him having his new 52 look, and when he gets hit by nth metal, how him showing his Batman Kid Crusader look. You're also doing him having his ghost birds, his magic cake, his skeleton horse, as his carriage that gets dragged by his ghost horse, and also his car from Batman the Brave and the Bold. It would be good him having everything that makes him good for this crossover, so you having the ultimate gem goes for the ultimate crossover. The other supernatural heroes like Deadman would be able to touch him because of him being a ghost, and other phases like Martian Manhunter and Vision would be able to touch him. Then the other magic users is like John Constantine and Doctor Strange would be able to touch him using their magic. Some other elemental villains like Livewire and Electro would be able to use their energy powers to touch him, and Hawkman and Hawkgirl would use their nth metal to touch him. And people like Control Freak could use the spoof from the Ghostbusters proton packs to touch him. But his Magic King would also be a Flaming Skull King, and so him being able to use some of the magic uses magic against them. Him being a threat to all the other elemental heroes and the non-powered superheroes and all the other heroes in the story. Because of him being extremely powerful and because of them not being able to touch him. It would make him being able to pass on, but it would be bad because then he would be going to hell. But then them making it that he stays in the House of Mystery in the Dreaming. Summon Grundy, you combine all of his origin stories into one so you can make the best possible Grundy for the best possible crossover. With him being a poor person who sold his soul, then him being a good and friendly man at first, but then him becoming abusive to his family without his soul, and him becoming a gangster for how he became rich, but then, and some gangsters managed to gun him down, then when he tried to go into the swamp to get away, he was killed and took his money from him. He was already drowning in a magic swamp, but then the gangsters put some magic with him and finished drowning him in the swamp after killing his family. Then these magics didn't sit well with each other, and before he died he was already strong after spending some time fighting other prisoners in a prison. Then a little while after Gotham City was first created, and there was a lot of pollution that ruined the villages and cities of the poor people. So after some of them used magic from the original city they came from, they used it to bring Solomon Grundy back to life in an eclipse during Halloween, which caused him to come back to life, always searching, never knowing why, looking for his soul, not knowing that he doesn't have it. Since the poor people villagers lost everything, they thought it was fitting that they made Grundy destroy everything that the rich had, take their money and kill them. He would still be around the rest of the year, but whenever it's a Halloween in an eclipse, him doing that specifically, but usually on every other day, him just not being too bright. And at first, he did already have super strength, but wasn't as strong as he was today. But after he started killing him, and he started coming back stronger and smarter than before. Grundy would have a good friendship with Hulk because of them both not being too bright and them both having super strength. But then after people like the Punisher started killing him, and him getting angry at him and him going against them, the Hulk convinced him not to go against anyone and before him getting too smart. But then after him sacrificing himself a few more times to save other heroes, him getting smart and strong, and him starting to be an even bigger threat, and him starting defeating the Justice League and the Avengers. This would be superheroes like Spider-Man and Batman why that you shouldn't kill people, because it's them trying to kill Grundy is what led up to this mess in the first place. You also do it in the story with Doomsday this happening too, and them being evenly matched at first, but then Doomsday killing Solomon Grundy, then them throwing and Doomsday into space and throwing him into the sun, but then Doomsday came back like a meteor against the Hulk. They put him in a place that could hold him, but then Doomsday broke out, but then the Hulk managed to kill Doomsday by leaving no part of him left. You're also doing Harley Quinn's origin story from Harleen for it making more sense why her going against the Joker and why she was with the Joker in the first place in this story. So you having a good version of Harley Quinn for this story. Then Man-Bat and his family would be in the story too, and him also having interactions with the Lizard. But then the Lizard wouldn't be able to control himself, but Man-Bat and his family would be able to have a mind of their own, to fight against the Lizard, and then them helping the superheroes with stopping the supervillains. And them being able to have a mind of their own because of them focusing on them loving each other as a family. It really showing the differences between the Lizard and Man-Bat, because Man-Bat managed to become a superhero because of him turning himself into a monster, because of the love for his family, and then fleshing him out over the years. Whether it just stays or but he has managed to still be an ally despite my managed to get identity. The superheroes would start the monster supervillains, and they would also start the supervillains' plans up for the city. The Joker and Scarecrow would be doing the monsters because it going perfect with Halloween, and with the Joker just doing it because of him wanting to be remembered. The Scarecrow just doing it with Mr. Fear because of him wanting to study the effects of fear and him wanting to spread fear. And the Joker would be doing it so him being able to go out with a bang, and it being a good ending to his rivalry with Batman because of him being willing to blow himself up with Batman. You'd also have some events in there here going up against Shriek, Mancy, and Black Canary. And I also put some good animations from some good shows in the end so you can appreciate and honor that there's good animation shows again, so enjoy that at the end of the video. You're also doing that with Ivia, so stay tuned for that.
I'm not.
No, all along. It can't be.
Get out of my brain. You're not her.
Oh my god. Nathan.
Let's skip the reunion, Dad. Trask got it wrong. Sinister's working for someone else. Someone...
Simply listen and obey.
See,
You were born for this.
All men are created equal. No man is trying to fight me to keep his secret safe. One precious secret in particular that he's protecting like a candle in a storm.
Cover in time. As long my sister doesn't come.
Natalia did this? How?
She has a rare affliction. I found a way for her to manage it. Draining others made her strong. I love her, but she's lost control.
Yes.
Forgive her. She's just a child.
Where do I find her?
I don't know. But get her inside before sunrise. Otherwise, she'll be lost forever.
Those people, that boy. Winston? My parents? Were they my parents?
It worked! Jinyan! Bamboo! I love you too, Mother.
The Chosen has saved us all.